Once upon a time, in a quiet coastal village called Umakoro, there lived a humble priest named Father Obina. He was a man of peace, loved by everyone in the community. His voice was calm, his steps slow and thoughtful. People said his prayers could calm a storm. But on this particular morning, even his calm heart was not at peace. He woke up suddenly before sunrise, his chest rising fast, his face covered in sweat. He had just seen a dream that shook his spirit. In that dream, he stood beside a dark river. The water moved as if it were alive. From its depths, a woman rose, her eyes glowing like blue fire. Her hair flowed like water, her skin smooth as wet sand. She called out softly, "Obina, save him before the tide takes him." Then he saw a man's hand reaching out of the river, struggling for help before being pulled under. Father Obina sat up on his bed, heart pounding. He whispered a short prayer and looked around his small room. Everything was quiet, his wooden cross hanging on the wall, his Bible on the table, the oil lamp flickering weakly, but his hands trembled as he wiped his face. What kind of dream was that? He murmured to himself. Who was the river calling? Outside, the early morning breeze carried the sound of waves crashing far away. The smell of salt and wet sand drifted in through his window. It reminded him that Umukoro was a village of both men and spirits. Everyone here knew that the river was not just water. It was alive. He stood up slowly, poured water into a bowl and washed his face. Then he knelt down beside his bed. "Lord," he prayed softly, "if this dream is from you, show me who to save." But no answer came. Only the distant cry of birds waking up. By afternoon, the whole village buzzed with excitement. Today was the wedding day of Ifeanyi and Adaizi, a young couple everyone admired. Ifeanyi was known for his kindness and success. He had returned from the city 2 years ago, built a small business, and promised to marry Adaiz, the daughter of a respected family. Father Obina walked slowly to the church. The sky was bright blue and palm trees waved gently in the wind, but deep in his spirit, something still felt wrong. At the church gate, he met Mama Chinyere, one of the choir women. "Father, good afternoon, oh," she greeted cheerfully. "You look troubled. Hope all is well?" He forced a smile. "All is well, my daughter. Just a little tired." But as he looked at the crowd decorating the church, his mind returned to the dream. The glowing eyes, the voice, the name Obina, save him. He turned his head and saw Ifeanyi standing by his car, laughing with his friends. He looked strong, confident, and full of life. Father Obina sighed in relief, yet part of him wondered, could this be the man from the dream? "I hope not," he whispered under his breath. Meanwhile, at Adaizi's family house, the air smelled of perfume and palm wine. Women moved around in colorful wrappers, helping her get dressed. Adaiz sat quietly before a large mirror. Her wedding gown was white and soft like morning mist. Her skin glowed, her smile gentle, her eyes deep and calm. But as one of the bridesmaids brushed her hair, Adaiz whispered something under her breath. Words no one understood. "What did you say?" her friend Ngozi asked. Adaiz blinked, looking confused. "Did I say something?" "Yes," Ngozi said with a laugh. "You were murmuring. Sounded like another language." Adaizi frowned lightly. "I don't remember." Then she turned back to the mirror. For a moment, her reflection flickered. The light dimmed, and her reflection smiled a second too late. No one noticed. At the same time, Ifeanyi was driving toward the church, but instead of going straight, he made a quick turn toward the old river. His best man called out, "Ifeanyi, why are we stopping here? We're late already." "I'll be quick," Ifeanyi said, stepping out of the car. He walked toward the riverbank quietly. The air was cool, the water shining like glass. He knelt down and dropped a silver coin into the water. "Thank you," he whispered, "for everything you gave me." The wind blew harder, sending ripples across the river. For a second, he thought he heard a soft laugh coming from beneath the water. A woman's voice. But when he looked around, no one was there. He stood up quickly, heart beating fast. "It's just my mind," he said, forcing a smile. "It's just my imagination." But as he walked back to the car, he didn't notice the trail of wet footprints that followed him, even though he hadn't stepped into the water. At the church, guests had already started arriving. The choir was rehearsing hymns, and the decorations glowed under the sunlight. Father Obina moved around, blessing the altar with holy water. He dipped his fingers into the bowl and sprinkled the seats gently. But when he sprinkled Adasi's chair, the holy water sizzled, like drops falling on a hot pan. He froze. He touched the seat again. Cold. Normal. He looked around. Nobody had noticed. "Lord," he whispered under his breath, "what is this?" His heart began to beat faster. Moments later, the doors opened. The bride had arrived. Everyone turned to look as Adais entered, her white gown glowing under the light. Her beauty seemed almost otherworldly. Even Father Obina found himself staring for a moment. But then something strange caught his eye. The floor beneath her feet glistened wetly, as though she had stepped out of a river. Yet outside, the sky was clear, no sign of rain. He blinked and looked again. The water was gone. Maybe it was his mind playing tricks, or maybe not. He tried to shake off the feeling and continued preparing for the ceremony, but the unease in his heart refused to fade. Later, as Adais waited inside a small side room before walking down the aisle, Father Obina entered quietly. He smiled softly. "My daughter," he said, "you look beautiful today. Are you ready for your big moment?" Adasi smiled, her eyes calm. "Yes, Father. I've waited for this day my whole life." Her voice was sweet, but something about the way she said whole life made him pause. He took a deep breath. "Tell me, my child, have you prayed this morning?" "Yes," she answered, tilting her head slightly. "I always pray." He nodded, still unsure why his spirit felt heavy. "That's good. Prayer gives peace." For a second, her smile disappeared. Her eyes turned cold, distant. Then she said softly, "Peace is not always what it seems, Father." He froze. "What did you say?" She blinked, her smile returning instantly. "I said I'm at peace, Father." He nodded slowly but couldn't stop the chill that ran down his spine. "All right. My daughter, I'll see you inside." He turned to leave, but before he stepped out, he glanced back and saw a single drop of water slide down from her hair onto her cheek. He frowned. "Did rain catch you outside?" Adis touched her face. "No, Father. I think it's just sweat." But the droplet glittered strangely, almost like salt water. Outside, Ifeani was already waiting at the altar, smiling as guests whispered in admiration. He looked happy, but Father Obina noticed how tightly he was holding his hands together. "You seem nervous," the priest said quietly. Ifeani laughed. "It's just excitement, Father." But Father Obina could see the fear hiding behind his smile. He placed a hand on the young man's shoulder. "Marriage is sacred, my son. Make sure your heart is clear before God, before you say your vows." "I understand," Ifeani said softly. But as the choir began to sing, a drop of cold water fell from nowhere and landed on Ifeani's hand. He looked up. The ceiling was dry. Father Obina saw it too. Their eyes met in silent confusion. Then the church doors opened wide, and Adais began her slow walk down the aisle. The sunlight poured through the stained glass, painting her gown in colors of blue and gold. Everyone gasped in awe. She looked like a vision from another world. But as she passed the candles near the altar, the flames flickered wildly, then turned blue. Father Obina's stomach tightened. He whispered a quick prayer under his breath. "Lord, protect us." Adais reached the altar, her smile calm, her gaze steady. When she looked at the priest, her eyes seemed to hold the color of deep ocean water. For a second, he thought he saw waves moving in them. Then they turned brown again. He tried to continue as if nothing had happened. He began the prayers, but his voice shook slightly. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today." His words trailed as he looked at Adais again. Beneath her gown, a small puddle of water had formed on the floor. He blinked, looked again. It was gone. No one else seemed to notice. Only him. He forced himself to finish the introduction, his hand trembling slightly as he lifted the holy water again. As he sprinkled it toward the couple, a small hiss came from Adarizi's direction, soft but sharp enough to make him stop mid-motion. Her eyes flickered. Father Obina's voice faltered. "Do you believe that God brought you together?" "Yes, Father," Adarizi said, her voice calm but oddly echoing. The sound sent chills down his spine. He finished the short blessing quickly and told everyone to take their seats. But as he turned to the altar, he whispered quietly to himself, "Something is not right. Something evil is here." After the short opening prayer, he sat down for a moment to breathe. His eyes wandered to the stained glass window, where sunlight danced in strange patterns. His mind returned to the dream, the woman's voice, the river, the warning. Obina, save him before the tide takes him. He looked again at Ifeanyi, and this time fear filled his heart. Could this be the man the river wanted? As the choir began another song, the priest looked at Adai's again. She was smiling at her groom, her hand resting gently on his. But Father Obina noticed something else. Her shadow was missing. Everyone around her cast clear shadows under the bright light from the windows. But Adai's feet stood on the ground bare, without a single trace of shade. His blood ran cold. He gripped the edge of the pulpit tightly, his lips moving in silent prayer. The dream wasn't just a dream, it was a warning. He turned slowly toward the cross hanging above the altar, whispering again, "Lord, give me strength. Whatever she is, don't let her take him." And as he spoke, a single drop of water fell from the ceiling and landed on the Bible before him. The page soaked quickly, and faint blue light shimmered on the wet words. Father Obina stared at it, frozen in fear, as the choir's song echoed through the church like the sound of waves crashing in his dream. The church was quiet, too quiet. Even though the choir sang softly, and guests whispered among themselves to Father Obina, it all sounded far away. His eyes stayed fixed on Adai's. She looked perfect in her white gown. Her smile was sweet, her eyes were soft, but the missing shadow in the wet floor around her feet refused to leave his mind. He stepped back from the altar and held his Bible tight. His fingers were cold. "Ifeanyi," he said slowly, "step forward." The groom moved toward the center with a proud smile. He glanced once at Adai's, then faced the priest. Obina raised his hand gently and made the sign of the cross over him. But just as he did, the holy water sprinkled from his fingers touched Adai's shoulder, and the water made a sharp sizzle like fire meeting water. Adai's flinched, so did the priest. Some guests noticed and whispered, but Adai's quickly laughed. "Oh, maybe it's my skin cream," she said lightly, brushing her shoulder. "My skin reacts to everything." Obina smiled weakly. "Yes, perhaps," he said, though deep in his heart, he knew that was not the truth. He wiped his hand and looked closely at Ifeanyi. The young man looked happy but nervous. His fingers kept moving, like someone struggling to stay still. "Ifeanyi," the priest said gently, "are you sure you're ready to take this step?" Ifeanyi chuckled. "Father, I've never been more ready." Father Obina stared into his eyes. "You're not hiding anything? Your heart is clean before God?" The groom hesitated for a second. Just 1 second. Then he nodded. "Yes, Father, I'm ready." But that tiny pause did not go unnoticed. After the opening prayers, the ceremony continued. The choir sang, the candles flickered, and guests smiled, thinking it was just another beautiful wedding. But Obina's mind was not at peace. He kept looking at Adai's. He had seen strange things in his years as a priest. Visions, healings, even spirits passing through the village. But never like this. This felt different. This felt personal. After the vows, Father Obina stepped down from the altar to give a short sermon. But halfway through, he stopped speaking. His eyes had locked onto Adai's again. For a moment, he saw something flicker across her face. Her eyes, for just a second, turned deep ocean blue. Not brown, not black, but a cold, shining blue like the heart of the river in his dream. He blinked, and her eyes returned to normal. She was still smiling, but it was like the smile was sitting on her face, not inside it. The priest's hands began to shake slightly. "Are you all right, Father?" one of the altar boys whispered. Obina nodded but didn't speak. He continued with the sermon, but his voice was no longer strong. It trembled, like someone walking barefoot on thorns. Later that evening, as the guests ate and danced in the church compound, Father Obina sat alone inside the altar. The candles had burned low. The shadows on the walls looked longer than normal. The church felt heavy. He opened his Bible again, looking for answers. But the page that got wet earlier had dried into a strange mark, like a symbol. Not quite a word, not quite a drawing, just a shape that looked like a wave or a woman's eye. He closed the Bible and placed his hands on his head. "Lord," he whispered, "what do I do? What is she?" Suddenly the door creaked open behind him. He turned. It was Ifeanyi. "Father," he said softly, "can I talk to you?" Obina nodded. "Come in, my son." Ifeanyi sat beside him on the altar steps. He looked around to make sure no one else was listening. "I want to tell you something," he said. Obina leaned forward. "Go on." "I had a dream last night," the groom whispered. "I was drowning. I couldn't breathe. Then, a woman came out of the water. She didn't speak, but I felt like she was waiting, like I owed her something." Obina's eyes widened. "Did you recognize her?" "No," Ifeanyi said, "but she felt familiar, like someone I met a long time ago." The priest's heart began to race. "My son," he said quietly, "tell me the truth. Have you ever gone to the river to make a request?" Ifeanyi looked shocked. "Father, how did you know? Tell me." The young man sighed and rubbed his face. "It was 5 years ago. I was in the city, broke, desperate. Nothing I touched worked. So one night I came home to the village. I went to the river at midnight. I begged the water to help me. I said I would do anything. I even threw my ring into the river." Obina's voice turned sharp. "Did you offer your heart?" "Yes," Ifeanyi said. "I said, take my heart, just give me a future. But I didn't mean it like that. I was just scared. I didn't know." Obina stood up quickly, his robe flowing behind him. "You made a vow, Ifeanyi. You promised something. You may not remember, but the spirits remember." Ifeanyi stood too. "But father, that was years ago, and nothing happened." "Nothing happened yet," Obina said darkly. "But now you're about to be joined with someone who may not be who she seems, and you're seeing water in your dreams. You're hearing voices. That is no coincidence." Ifeanyi's face turned pale. "Are you saying Arizi is, what? A spirit?" "I don't know," Obina said, "but I do know that spirits can enter people, especially those with open doors." "What do I do?" Ifeanyi whispered. The priest looked at him. "You need to remember everything, every word you said, and you must pray hard, because if she came for you, she won't leave without a price." That night, as the guests went home and the church grew dark, Adai stood in her room before the mirror again. The wedding was done. She was now a wife. But as she looked into the mirror, her reflection moved. Before she did, she tilted her head left. The image followed slowly. She blinked. The image did not. She leaned forward and touched the mirror. The glass was cold, but behind it, her reflection smiled wider than she did. Then she heard a voice, a woman's voice, whispering from deep inside her chest. "Soon," it said softly, "he will be mine." Adasi gasped and stumbled back, breathing hard. "No," she whispered. "This is my life now. You said you'd be quiet." The voice chuckled. "You made me a home, my child. You were born for this." Adiz looked around the room. She was alone. She held her head with both hands and whispered, "Please, not now. Let me live a little longer." But the voice said nothing more. Only the mirror stared back at her, with a smile that didn't belong to her. At that same hour, Father Obina didn't sleep. He sat in the chapel with a candle burning beside him. He was reading an old book of village history and spiritual cases. One story caught his eye. In the year 1913, a woman named Nena married a stranger from another village. On their wedding night, her husband disappeared. It was later found that she had been possessed by a spirit from the river, a marine queen who came to claim a promise made by the man's grandfather during the slave trade. The woman had no memory of what happened. Father Obina closed the book slowly. He looked up at the cross above the altar. "Lord," he said quietly, "if this is the same spirit, show me how to fight." He looked down at the Bible again. The wet page had dried completely now, but the wave-like mark was still there, shining faintly in the candlelight. He touched it gently, and suddenly the candle blew out. Darkness filled the room. Outside, the wind howled. Somewhere far off, he heard a splash, like someone diving into a deep river. His heart beat fast. but he didn't run. He closed his eyes and whispered one word: mercy. Back in Adasi's room, she was lying in bed, eyes wide open. She couldn't sleep. She stared at the ceiling, afraid to close her eyes. Beside her, Ifeanyi slept deeply. His chest moved slowly, his hand resting on hers. Adais looked at his hand. It was warm, but her own skin felt cold. She closed her eyes and tried to calm down. But as sleep began to come, she heard water dripping inside the room. Drip, drip, drip. She sat up quickly. The ceiling was dry. The windows were closed. She stood from the bed and followed the sound. It was coming from the mirror. She stepped closer and saw water dripping down inside the glass, like rain falling underwater. Suddenly, a hand pressed itself against the inside of the mirror. Not hers. A woman's hand, with long fingers and webbed skin. Adaizi screamed. Adaizi's scream shook the whole house. Ifeanyi woke up with a start and jumped out of bed. What happened? Adaizi, what is it? He asked, rushing toward her. She stood at the other end of the room, her back pressed against the wall, eyes wide with fear. Her finger pointed at the mirror. There was a hand, she whispered. It was inside the glass. Ifeanyi turned quickly to the mirror. It looked normal, just a simple wooden frame mirror hanging on the wall. No water, no hand, nothing strange. There's nothing there, he said carefully. You probably had a bad dream. I wasn't dreaming, Adais shouted, her voice shaking. I was awake. I saw it. A woman's hand. She pressed it on the glass like she was trapped inside. Ifeanyi walked toward her slowly. Babe, listen to me. You're tired. You've had a long day. Weddings are stressful. Your mind is just playing tricks. Adais shook her head. Her breath came fast and short. No, Ifeanyi. I've seen her before. Not just tonight. I've heard her voice. Sometimes when I'm alone. Sometimes in my dreams. She talks to me like she lives inside me. Ifeanyi paused. He didn't know what to say. Deep down, fear began to crawl into his own chest. He remembered the dream he had too. The woman in the water. The voice that said nothing but stared into his soul. Do you know who she is? He asked quietly. Adais looked down. No, I don't even know when it started. Sometimes she's quiet for months. But lately, since we started planning the wedding, she's been louder, more alive. And tonight, she tried to come out. Ifeanyi took a deep breath. His hands were shaking slightly. We have to talk to someone. Who? She asked. Who will believe this? Father Obina, he said. He already suspects something. Adais looked at him with a bit of hope, but also fear. Do you think he'll help me? I don't know, Ifeanyi said, looking again at the mirror. But we have to try before it's too late. That same night, Father Obina was at the church alone. He couldn't sleep either. He knelt before the altar, whispering prayers into the darkness. The candle in front of him danced with the wind, even though all the windows were shut. He opened his Bible again, flipping through the pages for answers. But no matter how much he read, the same fear remained in his heart. A storm was coming. Not outside, but inside the people he loved. He closed the Bible and stood. God, I need clarity, he said aloud. I need to know what she is, and how to free her. The door to the church creaked open slowly. Obina turned fast. It was Ifeanyi and Adaisa. The priest rushed to them. You came, he said. I knew something would happen tonight. Adais looked pale. Her hands were cold. She looked like someone who had seen death and come back. Father, she said softly, I think something is inside me. I don't know how to explain it, but she's not just a dream. Obina guided them inside and shut the doors. He lit more candles, then sat them down in front of the altar. Start from the beginning, he said gently. Adais spoke slowly. Her voice shook. She told him everything. The voice, the mirror, the dreams, the feeling that sometimes she wasn't alone in her own body. Father Obina listened in silence, nodding as she spoke. Then he turned to Ifeanyi. Did you tell her about the vow you made at the river? He asked. Adais turned quickly to her husband. What vow? Ifeanyi looked ashamed. It was a long time ago. I was desperate. I went to the river and prayed. I said I would give my heart in exchange for success. But I didn't mean it like that. I didn't think it was real. Daisy stared at him. You gave your heart to the river? I didn't know it would do that, he said. I thought it was just a foolish cry for help. I didn't know it would affect you. Father Obina stepped forward. Spirits don't forget, even if you do. Especially marine spirits. They trade in promises. They hold on to words, even careless ones. Adazi's voice cracked. So this thing inside me, she came because of his vow? Yes, Obina said, but I don't believe she was always there. I believe she entered you when your paths crossed. You became the vessel, the doorway. Adazi held her stomach. Sometimes I feel like I'm disappearing, like she's taking over, bit by bit. Obina walked to a shelf and picked up a small clay pot. He poured holy water into a bowl and lit incense. The room filled with a strong smell of burning leaves and oil. I'm not ready to cast her out, he said. That kind of spirit needs preparation, but I can test something tonight. He dipped his finger into the water and walked to Adazi. Do I have your permission? He asked. She nodded, her hands trembling. He touched her forehead gently with the wet finger. For a moment, nothing happened. Then her body jerked backward, her head snapped up, and a deep, strange voice came from her lips. You dare touch me, priest? The voice said. This is my home. The bowl of water shook on the table. Obina stepped back in shock. Ifeanyi rushed to his wife, holding her hand. Adazi, fight it. Don't let her take over. Her eyes rolled back. She began to laugh. But it wasn't Adazi's laugh. It was hollow, cold, and full of power. You broke the oath, the voice said, turning to Ifeanyi. You asked for riches and I gave it. Now you run from your end of the deal? Obina grabbed his Bible. In the name of Jesus, you will leave her. The spirit laughed louder. You think this name scares me? I was here before your crosses. I was here before your prayers. I am water. I am life. I am death. Obina began to pray out loud, his voice strong, his words firm. Every spirit not of God, I command you to be silent. You have no right to this woman. Adazi screamed. Her body shook. Her fingers twisted unnaturally. But as the prayer continued, the voice began to fade. I will return, it hissed. You cannot keep him from me. Then Adazi collapsed. Ifeanyi caught her before she hit the ground. Obina rushed to her side. She was breathing but weak. She's still in there, the priest said. But I think we have time, a few days at most. What do we do? Ifeanyi asked. We fast, we pray, and we go to the source, the river. By morning, Adazi lay in bed at Father Obina's quarters behind the church. Her face was calm, but her body remained cold. Obina placed a small crucifix on her chest and covered her with a white sheet. Ifeanyi sat beside her, looking broken. I never meant to hurt her, he said. Obina placed a hand on his shoulder. But you did, and now you must take responsibility. I'll do anything, Ifeanyi whispered. Just save her. You must come with me, Obina said. Tonight, we go to the river. You must speak, confess, cancel the words you spoke, break the bond. And if the spirit doesn't let go, then we prepare for war. Later that evening, as the sun set over Umokoro, Adazi's body stirred again. She opened her eyes and whispered weakly, She's still here. Ifeanyi rushed to her. We'll get her out, I promise. Adazi held his hand tightly. If I change, if I'm not me anymore, don't let her win. I won't, he said. But deep in his heart, he wondered how much time was left. The morning sun rose slowly over Umokoro. The sky was clear, but the air felt heavy, like something was about to break. Inside the church, women in colorful headscarves moved around, placing flowers on the altar. The choir practiced quietly. Everyone smiled, but the joy in the air felt fake, like a mask hiding something no one wanted to speak about. Father Obina stood near the pulpit, watching it all. He was dressed in his white robe, but his face was stiff with worry. He looked at the holy water in the small clay bowl on the altar. It didn't move, but in his spirit, he could feel the storm coming. He turned as one of the altar boys approached him. Father, the crowd is already gathering outside. Thank you, Obina said quietly. He looked out through the stained glass window. The compound was filled with guests. They were all excited, talking, laughing, dressed in their best clothes. They thought they had come for a wedding, but Obina was not so sure. He feared they had come to witness a battle between heaven and something from deep under the water. At that same moment, in the small guest room behind the church, a Daisy sat in front of a mirror. She had been quiet all morning. Her wedding gown had already been ironed and placed neatly on the bed, but she just stared at herself. Ngozi, her best friend and maid of honor, was brushing her hair. "You've been quiet since yesterday," Ngozi said. "Are you okay?" Daisy didn't answer. "You're the one getting married today, not buried," Ngozi teased, trying to lighten the mood. "Smile small, nah." Still, Daisy said nothing. Ngozi looked at her through the mirror. "Daisy? I'm scared," Daisy whispered. "Of what?" Daisy's lips trembled. "Of me." Ngozi dropped the hairbrush slowly. "You're scaring me now." Daisy finally turned to face her. "There's something inside me, Ngozi. Something I didn't invite. She's not letting go." Ngozi swallowed hard. "You're joking, right?" Daisy reached for the sleeve of her blouse and pulled it up. On her shoulder, just under the skin, something moved. It looked like the ripple of water. Small but real. Ngozi gasped and stepped back. "What was that?" "I told you," Daisy said, her voice flat. "She doesn't want to go." Before Ngozi could say another word, the door creaked open. It was Ifeanyi. He stepped into the room, his eyes soft but serious. "Can I talk to her alone?" he asked. Ngozi nodded quickly and left, still shaken. When they were alone, Ifeanyi sat beside Daisy. He reached for her hand. "I know you're scared," he said, "but we're going to fight this. Together?" She turned to him, her eyes filled with tears. "You saw what happened last night. You heard her voice. You saw what she can do." "I don't care what she can do," Ifeanyi said. "She's not stronger than God, and she's not stronger than us." Daisy shook her head. "You don't understand. She doesn't want you to marry me. She wants to take you. I already belong to you." "No," Daisy said, pulling her hand away. "You belong to her. You gave yourself to her. That's why she came. I'm just the doorway." Ifeanyi stood and held both her shoulders. "Then we'll close that doorway today. We'll lock it and throw away the key." She looked at him, scared but hoping. "What if something happens during the wedding?" He nodded. "Then we trust Father Obinna. He said he'll be watching, and we trust God." She wiped her eyes and gave a weak smile. "I still want to be your wife. Even if it's only for one day. You'll be my wife forever." Hours later, the wedding began. The sun was shining bright. The white chairs were full. Children ran around with balloons. Women fanned themselves. Men adjusted their caps and chatted loudly. Music played through the speakers. The air smelled of flowers and perfume. Ifeanyi stood at the altar, dressed in a white suit with gold buttons. He smiled at the guests, but his hands were shaking behind his back. He looked toward the door, waiting. Father Obinna stood beside him, holding his Bible. He leaned close. "If you sense anything unusual, don't ignore it," the priest whispered. Ifeanyi nodded. "I'm ready." Obinna looked around. He noticed that all the candles around the altar were flickering, even though there was no wind. One of them turned blue for a moment before returning to yellow. The priest said a silent prayer. Then the church doors opened. The music changed. All heads turned. Daisy stepped in, dressed in white, her veil flowing like mist. The sunlight from the stained glass windows fell on her face, making her look like she was glowing. But Obinna's eyes didn't see beauty. He saw her feet, and what he saw made his blood freeze. As she walked down the aisle, there was no shadow under her. Everyone else in the church had a clear shadow, on the floor against the walls, but not a Daisy. He looked at the floor again, confused. Her feet made no sound, no pressure, like she was walking on air. Ifeanyi didn't notice. He only saw the woman he loved. She reached the altar and stood beside him. Obinna cleared his throat and stepped forward. "We are gathered here today," he began slowly, "to witness the joining of these two souls." The church was silent. "Marriage is not just a union of man and woman," he said. "It is a union of spirits. It must be pure. It must be true." He looked at Daisy again. She stared ahead, her face calm, but something behind her eyes looked cold. "I will ask again, as I do with every couple," Obinna said. If there is anyone here who has a reason why these two should not be joined, speak now. Silence. No one moved. Obina's heart pounded. Very well, he continued. Do you, Ifeanyi, take Adaeze as your lawful wedded wife? I do, Ifeanyi said clearly. Do you, Adaeze, take Ifeanyi as your lawful wedded husband? There was a pause. Adaeze opened her mouth slowly. She said, then stopped. Her body trembled. Obina stepped forward. Adaeze? She looked up at him. Her eyes had changed. They were no longer brown. They were ocean blue. A few guests gasped. I do, she said, her voice layered with another voice beneath it. Obina stepped back. He touched the crucifix around his neck. Suddenly, the windows shook. A cold wind rushed through the church. The candles went out. People screamed. A few began to rise from their seats. Stay calm, Obina shouted. Do not run. But the air inside the church had changed. It smelled like wet stone and sea salt. The wooden cross behind the altar fell with a loud crash. Adaeze looked at Ifeanyi, her smile now wide and unnatural. I told you I would return, she said, not in her voice, but the voice of the spirit. Ifeanyi froze. Adaeze, he whispered. She tilted her head. She is sleeping. I am here now. Obina stepped in front of Ifeanyi. You will not take him. The spirit laughed. He is mine. He came to my river. He begged. He gave his heart. I came for what he offered. This is a house of God, Obina said firmly. You have no power here. Then stop me, the spirit said, raising Adaeze's hand. A gust of wind slammed through the doors. Flowers flew into the air. Guests screamed and ran toward the back. Obina opened the Bible and began to pray loudly. In the name of Jesus, I cast you out. Adaeze's body shook. Her face twisted. But the spirit did not leave. Ifeanyi grabbed her shoulders. Fight her! Adaeze, fight her! You're stronger than this. Her eyes flickered. For a moment, they turned brown again. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Ifeanyi, she said weakly. Hold on to me, he said. Don't let go. But the spirit growled. If you won't come willingly, then I will take your bride to the river. Her body collapsed. Obina caught her. She's not gone, but she's getting weaker. We have to act fast. Outside, the church was in chaos. The guests stood in groups, confused and scared. Some prayed. Others blamed the priest. But inside the church, Obina laid Adaeze on the floor. She needs deliverance, he said. But if we try it here, she may die. Ifeanyi knelt beside her. Then what do? We prepare. We fast. We go to the river tomorrow night. We end this where it began. Adaeze opened her eyes again. Her voice was faint. She's waiting. Obina looked up at the cross, which now lay broken on the floor. He whispered under his breath, so the real wedding is just beginning. The church was quiet now. The guests had all gone home. The candles had burned out. The broken cross still lay on the altar floor. The air was still, but it felt thick, like something dark had passed through and left its shadow behind. Father Obina stood at the back of the church with his Bible held close. His eyes were on Adaeze, who lay on a wooden bench near the altar. Her gown was stained with dust. Her face looked calm, but everyone knew it was the kind of calm that comes before a storm. Ifeanyi sat beside her, holding her hand, his eyes red. He hadn't stopped crying since the spirit took over during the wedding. He kept whispering her name, as if saying it enough times would bring her back. Father, he said, breaking the silence, is she still there? Obina nodded slowly. Yes, she's still in her body. But the spirit is fighting hard to stay in control. Ifeanyi gripped her hand tighter. She looked at me, just before she collapsed. It was her. I saw her. She's still fighting. She is, Obina said, but she can't win alone. He walked toward the altar and lit 2 candles. Then he placed a bowl of holy water on the floor and opened his Bible. This spirit, he said, it's not just any spirit. It's a queen of the waters, a marine being that feeds on vows and broken promises. Ifeanyi lowered his head. This is my fault. Yes, Obina said gently, but this is not the time to carry guilt. It's the time to fight. A few hours passed. Night fell again over the village. Thunder rolled in the distance. Rain threatened, but hadn't yet touched the ground. Inside the church, Obina had set up for what he called a spiritual test. He said it would help them understand just how deep the possession had gone. Adaiz was now lying flat on a mat at the center of the church, her hair spread out, her gown now replaced with a simple white cloth. Obina dipped a palm leaf into the holy water and began to sprinkle it around her. He prayed softly. Then he stepped back and looked at Ifeanyi. "She might speak again," he said, "but it won't be her. If it gets worse, don't touch her. Don't call her name. Just pray." Ifeanyi nodded and stepped aside, his heart beating fast. Then Obina placed his hand gently on Adaizi's forehead. "Spirit," he said calmly, "I know you're here. I am not here to argue. I'm here to give you a message. This body is not yours. She belongs to God and to herself." At first there was nothing. Then Adaizi's eyes flew open, but they weren't her eyes, they were glowing blue. Her mouth opened slowly. "She belongs to me," the voice said. It was deep and clear. "She is my temple." "She is not," Obina said firmly. "You came through a broken vow, but that vow was not hers." "She opened the door," the spirit hissed. "She let me in." "No," Obina replied. "She was tricked, but now we are closing that door." The spirit laughed. "You are too late, priest. This body is my home now, and the one who made the promise, he will come with me." Ifeanyi stepped forward, his voice shaking. "Why me?" The spirit turned to him. "You stood at my river. You begged for success. You said, 'Take my heart,' and I did. Your life became sweet. Now I've come for what is mine." Obina interrupted. He didn't understand. He was young. He was desperate. "God forgives foolishness." "But I don't," the spirit growled. "He made the trade, and now I've come to collect." Adaizi's body began to shake. Obina opened his Bible. "In the name of Jesus Christ, I command you to stop speaking through her." Adaizi screamed. But it wasn't her scream. It was sharp and loud, like something wild and angry. Obina pressed the Bible on her chest. "This body is not yours." Her back arched. Her hands twisted. She thrashed like someone drowning in water. "Leave her now," Obina shouted. The spirit hissed again. "She will die without me." "No," Ifeanyi cried. "Don't hurt her, please." "She's too weak," the spirit said. "If I leave, she will break." Obina turned to Ifeanyi. "That's the trick. The spirit is lying. It wants you to fear." Then he looked down at Adaiz again. Her breathing was fast. Her face was soaked in sweat. Obina lowered his voice. "Adaizi," he said gently, "can you hear me?" She didn't move. "Fight her," he said. "Don't let her win." For a moment, the glow in her eyes dimmed. Her lips moved slightly. "I'm tired," she whispered. "She's too strong." "No," Obina said. "She only wins if you give up." Ifeanyi dropped to his knees beside her. "We're with you," he said. "You're not alone." Adaizi's body stopped shaking. Her eyes slowly closed. Then she spoke again. This time her voice was her own. Weak, quiet, but real. "I don't want to die." "You won't," Obina said. "But we have to take this fight to the river. That's where it began. That's where it must end." The next morning, Adaizi lay in Father Obina's quarters. She was wrapped in thick cloths. Her body was cold, like someone who had fallen into deep water. Ifeanyi sat beside her, rubbing her hands. Obina came in with a cup of warm tea. "She needs rest," he said. "But more than that, she needs freedom." Ifeanyi looked up. "How do we get it?" "We go to the river tonight," Obina said. "That's where the spirit drew her strength. That's where the promise was made." "Will she be able to go?" Ifeanyi asked, nodding toward Adaizi. Obina looked at her carefully. "She'll be able to go, but we must protect her with prayer before we reach there." "I'll do anything," Ifeanyi said. "Anything." "Then fast today," Obina said. "Pray, ask for mercy, and prepare for battle." Later that evening, the sky turned gray. The river flowed quietly through the edge of the village. No one stood near it. Even animals avoided the banks that day. The villagers knew something was happening. They whispered about the strange wedding, the storm inside the church, the girl with no shadow. Obina, Ifeanyi, and 2 church workers carried Adeze on a mat toward the river. Her body was weak, but she was awake. As they reached the riverbank, Obina took out a small wooden cross and a bottle of holy oil. He looked at the water. Then he turned to Ifeanyi. "Do you remember the spot where you made the promise?" Ifeanyi nodded and pointed to a large stone near the edge. "Go there," Obina said. "Stand on it and speak. Cancel the vow." Ifeanyi stepped forward. His legs shook as he walked. He stood on the stone, looked down at the water, and took a deep breath. "Spirit of the river," he said loudly. "I was a boy when I came here. I was desperate. I made a vow I didn't understand." The river moved slightly. A wind blew past. "I said I would give you my heart," Ifeanyi said, "but I take it back. I belong to God, not to you. I cancel every promise I made here. I speak as a man now with a clear mind. You cannot have me. You cannot have her. I reject your claim." Obina lifted his hands. "Amen. Amen," Adeze whispered. Then suddenly the water rippled, and from the center of the river a figure rose. She was tall with long black hair that floated like seaweed. Her eyes were shining blue. Her skin was smooth like wet stone. She wore a crown made of shells. She stepped onto the water like it was solid. "I warned you," she said. Obina stepped in front of Ifeanyi. "You have no power here," the spirit's voice echoed. "He came to me first. I gave him what he wanted. But you took what wasn't yours," the priest said. "Now you will let her go." "She is mine," the spirit shouted. Obina opened his Bible. "Then come and take her." Lightning flashed. The wind roared. The river rose like a wave. Adeze sat up on the mat, her eyes open wide. The spirit turned to her. "You invited me. You begged to be special." "No," Adeze said. "I didn't ask for you." "You wanted to be seen," the spirit said. "You wanted love. I gave you power." Adeze stood slowly, even though her legs were shaking. "I don't want it anymore. I want to be free." "Then break," the spirit growled. Obina threw the holy oil toward her. It touched her feet, and she screamed. Her skin burned. She twisted and faded back into the water with a loud splash. The river grew calm again. Adeze collapsed into Ifeanyi's arms. Obina knelt beside them. "It's not over," he said, "but she's weaker now. We've taken something back." Adeze looked up, tears in her eyes. "I felt her leave, even if just for a moment." Ifeanyi kissed her forehead. "We'll finish this, I promise." Obina looked out at the river. "I think she's angry now," he said, "and she won't stop until one of you is gone." The rain came at midnight, heavy, loud, angry. Thunder shook the windows of Father Obina's small house beside the church. The roof groaned under the weight of water. Every few minutes, lightning lit up the sky like fire, then disappeared just as fast. It felt like the heavens were warning them, or watching. Inside the house, Adeze lay on a mat, wrapped tightly in a thick blanket. Her eyes were closed, but her body was restless. She kept turning from side to side, whispering things under her breath. Her fingers twitched like someone trying to hold on to something slipping away. Ifeanyi sat on the floor beside her, wide awake. He hadn't slept all night. He just watched her. Every time she moved, he leaned closer. "Obina," he whispered, "she's shaking again." The priest, who sat near the door with his Bible on his lap, stood and walked to them. He placed a hand on Adeze's forehead. It was damp with sweat, but cold. Her lips moved, but no real words came out. "She's dreaming," Obina said quietly. "She's speaking to it." "To the spirit?" Ifeanyi asked. Obina nodded. "It's not gone. It's just waiting, watching." Ifeanyi looked down. "She was strong today, at the river." "Yes," Obina replied, "but the spirit is not finished. This thing, it doesn't give up easily. And now that it knows it's losing, it will fight harder." He paused, then said, "I need to go back there, alone." Ifeanyi looked up sharply. "Alone? To the river? Why?" "Because it called me," Obina said, his voice calm. "In my sleep, just now. I heard the water. I saw her face. The same spirit. She asked to speak. Not in battle, not in war, but in talk." Ifeanyi frowned. "You believe her?" "No," Obina said, "but I must go." She wouldn't invite me unless she wanted something. And if I don't go, she'll come here again. Or worse, she'll take a dice. Ifeanyi's jaw tightened. Then I'm coming with you. Obinna shook his head. No, she doesn't want you. She wants to talk to me. If you come, she may strike. Stay with the days. Watch her. Pray, I won't be long. But what if she tries to trick you? Ifeanyi asked. Obinna looked him in the eye. Then I won't listen. But if she says something important, I'll hear it. The rain was softer by the time Obinna reached the riverbank. The sky still grumbled above, but the thunder had calmed. The river was quiet. The water didn't move much. It just sat there, dark and deep, like it was hiding something at the bottom. Obinna stepped close, his Bible still clutched under his arm. He stood on the same stone where Ifeanyi had stood the night before. I'm here, he said aloud. If you want to speak, then speak. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then the water rippled. A small circle, then another, growing wider and wider. The surface bubbled gently. Then a soft voice came from the middle of the river. Calm, smooth, female. I told you I would return, priest. Obinna took a deep breath. Speak quickly. You're brave to come alone, the spirit said. Most men run when they see me, but you stand. I stand with God, Obinna replied. The spirit laughed softly. He doesn't own everything, you know. Obinna said nothing. The water moved again, and this time she rose. Her body was clearer than before. Tall, shining, her face beautiful but cold. Her eyes glowed like light at the bottom of the sea. She didn't step on the land. She stood right at the edge of the water, her long hair floating behind her like smoke. You've interfered enough, she said. I came for a promise. That boy, Ifeanyi, he called me. He offered me his heart. He was a boy, Obinna said. He was foolish. He didn't know what he was doing. But I knew, the spirit replied, and I kept my end. I gave him success. I gave him peace. Now I've come for my part. You cannot take him, Obinna said firmly. His vow was broken, at this river, in front of God. I don't want his soul anymore, the spirit said slowly. He has already denied me. Let him go. Obinna frowned. Then why are you still here? The spirit stepped closer, her feet still floating on the surface. I want her. Obinna's chest tightened. A daze. She is a perfect vessel, the spirit said. She carries my energy now. She hears me. She understands me. And if I cannot have the boy, I will take the girl. Obinna's voice rose. No, you don't understand, the spirit said. I have lived in her since she was a child, long before she met him. Her mother prayed for a child by the river, and I answered. She was born from my water. She has always been mine. Obinna's mouth fell open. She doesn't know that. She doesn't need to, the spirit replied. She is mine by blood. Obinna took a step forward. What do you want? The spirit smiled slowly. I want a bargain. Let me stay. Let me live in her. I will give her beauty, wealth, power. I will protect her from all harm. I will leave Ifeanyi alone. I won't return again. That's my deal. Obinna stared at her. The water around her shimmered like glass. And if we say no? He asked. The smile dropped from her face. Then I will return every night. I will whisper in her ear. I will call her to the river, and one day she will walk into the water and not come out. Obinna didn't flinch. She doesn't want you. She doesn't know what she wants, the spirit said. But I do. Obinna raised his Bible slowly. Then hear me, spirit. Your deal is rejected. Your offer is refused. This body, this girl, does not belong to you. The spirit's face turned dark. Then prepare, she said coldly. The next time we meet, I will not speak. The water rose fast, high and angry. Obinna stood firm. I do not fear you, the spirit screamed, a loud, high cry that shook the trees. Then she vanished back into the river. The water calmed, but the threat remained. By the time Obinna returned to the house, dawn had begun to break. The rain had stopped. Birds chirped lightly. Ifeanyi was sitting on the floor, holding Adazi's hand. She's still cold, he said, but she's breathing. Obinna sat down heavily. He looked tired, soaked, and older than before. She spoke to me, he said. Ifeanyi looked up quickly. What did she say? She offered a deal. Your freedom for a Daisy's body. Ifeanyi's eyes widened. She wants to live in her forever? Yes. No, Ifeanyi said. We can't let that happen. Obina nodded. We won't? He looked at Adaisi, who was still sleeping. She was born through the river, he said slowly. Her mother asked for a child. The river answered. That's how this started. So she never had a chance, Ifeanyi whispered. She has a chance now, Obina said, but we must finish it. How? We prepare for full deliverance. We do it at the altar. Tonight. Will she survive it? Ifeanyi asked. Obina looked at Adaize again. That depends on her, and on us. That night, Adaize finally opened her eyes. She looked around, confused. Where am I? Ifeanyi rushed to her. You're safe. You're home. She blinked slowly. Did she leave? Obina stepped forward. Not yet, but she's afraid. That means we're close. Adaize reached for Ifeanyi's hand. I don't want to be her home anymore. You won't be, he said. We'll get her out. Obina nodded. Tonight is the final battle. Adaize took a shaky breath. Then let's end it. The church was dark. The candles had not yet been lit. The benches were empty. The altar stood quietly, waiting. Outside, the moon hid behind the clouds. The air was still and hot, but the wind whispered like it carried secrets. It was the kind of night that made even dogs stay quiet. Inside, Father Obina walked slowly to the front of the church, with his Bible pressed to his chest. His robe flowed gently behind him. His lips moved in silent prayer. Every step felt heavy, but his spirit stood tall. Behind him, Ifeanyi helped Adaize into the church. Her legs were weak, but she didn't fall. Her face was pale, her eyes tired, but she walked. She had made a choice. She would not run anymore. They reached the front. Obina had already placed a white mat in the center of the altar space. A crucifix lay at the top. Beside it sat a bowl of holy water, palm oil, anointing oil, and salt. 4 thick candles were placed in each corner of the mat. This is where it ends, Obina said softly. Adaize looked around the empty church. Here? Alone? Yes, Obina replied. If we open this to the public, fear will spread. Doubt will creep in, and she will use it. Ifeanyi helped Adaize sit on the mat. She folded her legs gently. Her hands rested on her lap. Obina knelt beside her. Do you still want to be free? Adaize looked up at him, her voice quiet but clear. I do, even if it kills me. Ifeanyi flinched. Don't say that. She needs to say it, Obina said. The spirit is listening, and it needs to know she's not afraid. Adaize closed her eyes. I am not afraid. Obina nodded and stood. He picked up the first candle and lit it, then the second, then the third and fourth. The flames flickered gently. The whole space glowed in soft gold. Then he picked up the Bible, and the prayers began. In the name of Jesus Christ, Obina said loudly, every spirit not of God, I command you to hear my voice. Tonight, you will not hide. Adaize sat still, her eyes closed. I speak to the spirit in this body, Obina said. You have hidden in her for years. You were not invited. You were not chosen. You forced your way through a broken vow and a river promise. He dipped his finger in the holy water and made the sign of the cross on Adaize's forehead. You have no power here, he said. Adaize opened her eyes. They were blue. The candles flickered harder. A strong wind blew through the church, even though the doors were closed. She is mine, the spirit said through Adaize's mouth. The voice was deeper, colder. It was not her voice. Obina took a step forward. You are a liar. She is not yours. She came from me, the spirit growled. She was born from the river. She carries my blood. But she chose God, Obina said. She chose to leave you. The spirit laughed. Then I will break her. I will tear her soul in two. No, you won't, Obina said, opening the Bible. You have no permission. He began to read Psalms out loud. His voice was strong. His hands didn't shake. The candles glowed brighter. Adaize screamed. Her body twisted. Her arms shook. Her head tilted back. Her fingers bent backward unnaturally. Ifeanyi rushed forward. Adaize! Obina stopped him. Don't touch her! Ifeanyi froze. Adaeze fell flat on the mat, breathing hard. Then she laughed. The laugh wasn't human. It was deep and loud, echoing through the whole church. "I warned you, priest," the spirit said. "She is the doorway. I live through her. If I leave, she breaks." Obinna stepped forward. "Then break her," Ifeanyi gasped. "What?" "Break her," Obinna repeated, eyes fixed on the spirit. "Go ahead, tear her apart, but you know what will happen." The spirit was silent. "You'll lose her forever," Obinna said. "You'll lose your temple, your home, and she'll rise in glory even if her body dies." The spirit hissed. "She will not die," Obinna continued. "She will live, and you will leave. You know why? Because the name above all names has spoken. Jesus Christ is Lord over this house and over this soul." He poured a line of salt around the mat. He lifted the anointing oil and touched Adaze's head. "In the name of Jesus Christ, I cast you out." Adaze screamed again. Her body lifted from the mat for a second. Her back arched. Her hair flew into the air. Her mouth opened wide. "I will return," the spirit shouted. "No, you won't," Obinna replied. "This door is closed." He pressed the crucifix on her chest. "Out now." A loud wind blew through the church. The candles almost died, then burned brighter. And suddenly, silence. Adaze collapsed. No movement, no sound. Ifeanyi rushed forward. "Adaze!" She didn't move. Obinna touched her neck. His face was still. "She's breathing," he said softly. They waited. Seconds passed. Then slowly, Adaze opened her eyes. They were brown. Her lips trembled. Her hand reached out. "Ifeanyi." He grabbed her hand, holding it close to his chest. I'm here, my love." She looked at Obinna. "Is she gone?" Obinna smiled gently. "She's gone." Adaze burst into tears. "I didn't think I'd make it." "You did," he said, "because you chose to fight." Ifeanyi wrapped his arms around her. "It's over. It's really over." Obinna looked around the church. The candles still burned. The mat was soaked with sweat and oil, but the air was light. Peace had returned. They helped Adaze up slowly. She was weak, but she stood. They walked to the altar together. Adaze knelt and whispered a prayer of thanks. Ifeanyi stood behind her, tears running down his face. Father Obinna stood in front of the cross and closed his eyes. "Thank you, Lord," he said softly, "for saving her." Outside the church, the wind was quiet. The moon came out from behind the clouds. It was a new night, a clean one. And for the first time in years, Adaze slept without hearing a voice in her head. She belonged to herself again. The morning after the deliverance, the village was quiet. No drums, no market noise, no motorbikes zooming past. Just peace. The sun rose gently over Umokoro, bathing the red soil and palm trees in soft gold light. Inside Father Obinna's house, Adaze sat on a stool near the window, wrapped in a light cloth. Her face looked different now. Calm, soft, rested. There were no more shadows under her eyes, no blue glow in her gaze. She looked like herself. Ifeanyi walked in carrying a bowl of hot pap and akara. He smiled as he placed it beside her. "You need to eat," he said. "Your strength is coming back, but you've barely touched food." Adaze looked at him with grateful eyes. I don't know how to feel. Free, yes, but also scared." He sat beside her. "Scared of what?" "That she'll come back." Ifeanyi gently took her hand. "She won't. Father Obinna said it. The door is closed." Adaze looked out the window toward the direction of the river. "But the river is still there." "Yes," Ifeanyi said. "But now so is your voice and your will. You're no longer her home. You belong to no one but God and yourself." She rested her head on his shoulder. "I want to visit the river one last time." He looked at her. "Are you sure?" "I need to go back. Not for her. For me. I need to stand there and know that I came out alive." Later that evening, the three of them, Adaze, Ifeanyi, and Father Obinna, returned to the riverbank. The water flowed gently. Nothing unusual. No wind, no bubbles. Just the soft sound of nature. Adaze stepped forward alone. She stood on the same rock where her life had once been claimed, and now returned. She knelt and placed a white flower at the edge of the water. "I'm not afraid of you anymore," she whispered. "You tried to steal me, but you didn't win." Behind her, Obina and Ifeanyi stood watching silently. Adaj stood up, turned and walked back to them. But as they turned to leave, a strange sound came from the river. Soft, like a wave crashing in the distance. They all turned. For a brief second, the water shimmered, and then a small hand rose from beneath the surface, pale, wet, webbed. It stayed there for just a moment, then it slowly sank back in. Adazi's heart jumped. But Obina stepped forward and spoke firmly. "You cannot have her. You lost." The river went still. Adaz turned to him. "Did you see that?" "Yes," he said. "What does it mean?" He looked at the river. "It means she's watching, but she has no power here anymore. You don't belong to her." Ifeanyi placed his arm around Adazi's shoulders. "Come, let's go home." 1 week later, the church was full again, but this time for joy. Father Obina stood at the altar with a wide smile as he blessed Adazi and Ifeanyi. Properly this time. No blue eyes, no fallen crosses, no sudden winds, just love, light, and peace. "You may now kiss the bride," he said. Ifeanyi lifted her veil gently and kissed her. The church clapped. People cheered. Obina stood back and wiped a tear from his eye. He had seen many weddings, but this one meant something more. This was victory. This was proof that even ancient darkness could be broken by light. That night, Adazi stood in front of the mirror again. She touched her reflection. It moved with her. At the same time, her smile met hers. Nothing lagged, nothing stared back. She whispered, "I am home." From behind her, Ifeanyi called, "You coming to bed?" "Yes," she replied, still looking into the mirror. But just as she turned to leave, a single drop of water rolled down the mirror's edge, slow and clear. Adesha's froze. She stared at it, but this time she didn't run. She reached forward, touched the drop, and it vanished. She smiled and walked away.